Right, so we're at the apiary number 2, but in the morning this time. And normally I come down here in the morning because there's shade in the summer for the van to park in. And yeah, it's a bit blustery today. And I was down here in the week. Oh, new hinges on the gate. And yeah, I've put some new stands in for that, and it's a bit of luck I did, because it was properly falling to bits. And how bad was it falling to bits? That bad, really, you know. So that would have probably carried on for another 3 or 4 years if I hadn't done anything. But yeah, well and truly shot. So today's lovely job, and they're not going to like this because it says on the van that it's 7 degrees, but I brought one of these little outdoor monitor things and it says 9 degrees on there. Don't know whether you can see that, but wind chill factor, it feels like about, yeah, 5 degrees really. But they are out flying. Quick check, they're flying because the sun's come out. So yeah, they are going, but for how long I don't know. And there's definitely some evidence of them feeding on that false food, if you like, or the sugar syrup that I put in, or the patties. So yeah, it's making them go to the loo. Anyway, we'll dive in. So today's job is we've got to remove the floor and put these floors in, because I'm going to do the first treatment of Varroa today, and we're going to treat them with, oh, I might have to put the camera down and get this out of the bag, but yeah, I can't get it out. I'll show you all that when I've got it in the thing, in the holder. So yeah, that's basically today's job. Feed them, change the floor so that the Varroa mites can drop down through the floor, and then they can't get back up again, and then they die in the cold. So the reason we're doing that is because last week we discovered there were 3 frames of capped brood, so they can't cannibalise that, they'll just leave that and it'll be born. Now you've got more bees to feed in that hive, which means that we've got to check the feed every week. But they won't then relay eggs until the weather cheers up and it's 7 degrees, but it's predicted to be 15 during the week, so they might start going for it a bit again. So now you're trying to calculate to yourself, well, for a bee to be born from now, the egg being laid to when it's born is 3 weeks away. So by then, hopefully we'll have some more blooms out. There is one tree in the farmer's back garden that is a cherry tree or a plum tree that's out, so they're going for that. That's where the pollen's coming from, most likely. And so you're trying to match this colony. There's no point getting these onto double brood yet, in my view, because there's still not enough for them to go to, and the colony's still not big enough. So we've probably got 2 or 3 weeks to make an assessment and decide at what point to go double brood, and I'll show you that, because you sort of have to decide on the day and then do it. So I'll just stop the camera and put it in the holder, and then we'll carry on from there. Alright, here we go then. So while they're chewing on that, there's this yellow board that goes in underneath the floor, and then all the mites that drop onto this board, and you can see how infested the colony is. So that goes on that little tray. I'll show you that on the walk round at the end, but I just want to get that all ready because I don't really want to mess about with these because of the weather, how cold it is. So yeah, I can't put any syrup in because I've got to tip the hive over and put the new floor down and then get the box back on before we do anything. So let's see what we've got. So they haven't eaten any of that grub, which is interesting. There we go. Okay. Floor probably wants to clean anyway. Alright, that was fairly painless. So, let's talk through this stuff, which is called... Oh. Anyway, there used to be a sign on the front and I don't know where it's gone now. But it's called Varroa Med, you can just see there. And it's approved by the organic beekeepers people. I just put it in one of these wine things that you take to barbecues or picnics or whatever, and I just stick it in there to keep it warm. So you just got to keep it warm, and then we've just got to sprinkle it on the top of them. And it's a mild irritant basically, and it makes the bees groom themselves, and they, in the process, they then flick all the varroa mites off, and then they drop through that floor, and you can count them up next week. So we're just going to dribble a bit on here like that. It's almost like vinegar, that sort of thing. It's probably a little bit more harsh than vinegar, but it's mildly acidic and it gets them to clean themselves. So I'm not going to give them any more food. That's enough for them. So that's one colony done. Right, on to the second colony now, and this is a bit more difficult because this cover's got to come off, and then we've got to put the floor down and then get it all back together again before we start looking at them. It's a double-edged sword, this cold weather. It means that a lot of the bees will be in here and they will get the treatment on them because they're not out flying. But it means you're doing your beekeeping tasks in cold weather and rushing, because you don't want to cool the nest down too much. Right, that's that one. Right, there's a lovely nest in there. I'll try and show it to you when we've put it back together again. but a lot of those bees have clearly been born now that we saw last week. So this goes on here like that, and then the bees, the varroa mites fall through these holes. Can you see that? It's just a mesh and they all fall through. So we'll just get this, see if I can show you this nest as we go. There you go, if you can see that. So this tray, I made these trays because I want to keep the heat in at this time of year. So that goes on there, and then it just slides in the back. And then the varroa mites can't get out. Bingo. Right, so that was sort of minimal disturbance. We'll have a quick look in here, see how much grub they've got. Yeah, there's a lot of heat coming out of there. They haven't eaten an awful lot, but it has been cold all week. So we'll just give them a little bit of this treatment. Can you see that? I don't know whether you can see it. There, that's that done. I'll give them one bit of food. Like I say, it's way too cold to go through them. We're almost back to January weather. Bad enough having the lid off, let alone doing anything else. This blooming stuff's all seized up again, it's all gone stiff. Right, that's that. So as you can see, I've wrecked a glove, so I'm going to go and get some new gloves on and I'll come back for the last colony. Last colony then. I guess most of the week they've just been locked up or not coming out because it just feels like there's a lot of food still left in this one as well. I'm tipping them up away from the camera because the wind's coming this way in, so I'm tipping them that way so that the roof gives them some protection. Yeah, there's a full box of bees there. the worst of the trauma over. Would help if you put the tray in. That's the downside of this. Perfect. Right, let's see what's going on inside. Yeah, they've got through one. So here's the treatment. Hopefully you can see it better this time. I'll do it the other way. That's it. They've probably gone into a bit of shutdown mode here because of the cold weather. That's it. Not too painful for any of us. So a bit more of an explanation. We're 15th of March, something like that, so you need to treat for Varroa now while there's no brood in there, or she's just starting to lay it out, because the Varroa mites go into the brood as it's being capped. So if we knock all the Varroa mites off the bees that are in there now onto the floor and they die, when it comes to them capping the brood in 10-14 days time, then basically the Varroa mites won't be in there, so they can't get into the brood sac and then multiply. So if we do this for 3 weeks now, hopefully we'll knock us enough mites. You'll never get all of them, but you'll knock enough mites off the bees and they'll all die, so that through the summer you don't have to treat again when the honey supers are on. That's the idea. Even though you can use this with honey supers, it's organically approved and there's no withdrawal period. I don't. I'll just do it in the autumn and the spring. Okay? Just to recap then, I transferred that little landing pad from the other floor to there, so they've got familiarity. I started painting this, and then the sun came out and they all decided they were going to fly out this colony, that colony and that colony, so I got to here and stopped. But you can hear that you can't hear this colony, but this colony and the next one to it are really, and there were a load of bees on the floor, and there's the last one, the last straggler there, trying to find a way home. Hopefully she'll fly in a minute. Yeah, there's one just wiggling around there. I'll just knock them out in front of the hive and they've got to get back in there. So that noise is the Nasanov gland again. So yeah, they're just calling them all back in. But this going to the loo stuff means that they're getting a bit full up. That stuff's got a lot of fibre in it, that patty stuff, so we'll see how they get on with that. Hopefully there'll be some nectar coming in soon, but we'll see. Okay.